Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the pretty wild story of a gem that took a nosedive from royal crowns all the way down to souvenir shops. Seriously, it's a story that's got everything: chemistry, ancient history, and, you guessed it, a massive economic crash. So here's the big question, right? How does a gem that was once literally as valuable as a diamond end up as, well, a common paperweight? I mean, this is a total 180. We're talking about a stone that was the very definition of elite, and now you can find it pretty much anywhere. So what on earth happened?
Just to give you an idea of how massive this collapse was, try this on for size. Imagine waking up tomorrow and gold is suddenly as cheap as aluminum foil. That's the scale we're talking about here. This wasn't some minor dip in the market. No. This was a complete and total wipeout for one of the world's most prized materials.
You have to understand, for literally thousands of years, amethyst was in the most exclusive club on the planet. It was one of the original cardinal gems. That meant it was right up there, shoulder to shoulder with diamonds, rubies, sapphires, and emeralds. Yeah, the original Big Five of the gem world. It was a superstar.
Alright, so what made it so powerful in the first place? Well, it all boiled down to two incredibly strong pillars: scarcity and symbolism. First up, let's talk rarity. Its value was sky high because it was just so incredibly rare. I mean, finding a really good, high-quality amethyst was next to impossible. Get this, up until the 18th century, the entire world's supply came from just two spots on the globe: Russia and Sri Lanka. That's it. And the second pillar of its value? The color purple itself. You know, before we had modern dyes, making anything purple was insanely expensive. We're talking about needing thousands of tiny sea snails just to dye a single robe. It was so exclusive that actual laws were passed that basically forbade anyone but royalty from wearing it. Crazy, right?
And this is where amethyst hit the jackpot. Because it was the only transparent purple gemstone known at the time, it became the ultimate symbol of that power. It was like wearing royalty on your finger. You'd see it in the crowns of monarchs like Catherine the Great or on the rings of powerful bishops. It was a statement piece that screamed, "I am at the very top."
Okay, so let's get into the science behind the stone. Behind all that incredible history and symbolism, what is this royal gem actually made of? Well, the answer might surprise you. It's way more common than you'd think. Here's the kicker. Amethyst is just a variety of quartz. You know, silicon dioxide? It's the second most common mineral in the Earth's crust. It's basically the same stuff you see in clear rock crystals or even sand on the beach. Fundamentally, it's just plain old quartz with a fancy purple paint job. So how does boring old quartz get this royal makeover? It's a surprisingly simple two-step recipe from nature. Step 1. As the quartz crystal is forming, some tiny trace amounts of iron get stuck inside. Step 2. Over millions and millions of years, that crystal gets blasted with natural gamma radiation from the rocks around it. And that's it. Iron plus radiation equals that gorgeous purple. Simple as that.
And what's really wild about this recipe is how sensitive it is. If you take that amethyst, that iron plus radiation combo, and you just add heat, the purple color literally disappears. It transforms into the yellow gem we call citrine. And here's a little industry secret for you. A huge chunk of the citrine you see for sale today? Yeah, that's just amethyst that someone has baked in an oven to change its color.
Alright, so if amethyst is just jazzed up common quartz, you might be asking, why didn't people just find more of it? And for centuries, the answer was simply that the right geological conditions were super rare. Until one single discovery came along and blew the whole thing wide open.
So here's the timeline of the collapse. For ancient times, it was prized. In the 18th century, supply was super limited. But then, in the 19th century, bam! The entire market, which was built on this idea of scarcity for thousands of years, was turned completely upside down, practically overnight. This was the moment it all changed. Explorers in Brazil and Uruguay weren't finding little veins of the stuff anymore. Oh no, they started discovering these enormous, hollow lava bubbles called geodes. And I'm talking massive, some as big as a cathedral, and the inside walls were just lined with millions and millions of carats of perfect, pristine amethyst.
You can see it right here on the chart. The impact on the global supply was just immediate and insane. What was once one of the rarest gems on the planet suddenly became one of the most plentiful. The market was absolutely flooded.
And you know what happens next, right? It's Econ 101. When you have a massive flood of supply and the demand pretty much stays the same, the price has nowhere to go but down. And I mean way down. It completely collapsed. Amethyst got unceremoniously kicked out of the exclusive Cardinal Gem Club and was demoted to semi-precious. Ouch. So, with its economic crown now in the dust, what's left? Well, what we're left with is its incredible cultural story, the myths and legends. And honestly, that stuff is just as fascinating.
And the story really starts with its name. Amethyst actually comes from an ancient Greek word amathostos. And what does it mean? It literally means not drunk. Yeah, the ancient Greeks truly believed that if you drank wine from a cup made of amethyst, you could not get intoxicated. A pretty neat party trick if it were true.
So where did that belief come from? You guessed it, a myth. The story goes like this. Dionysus, the god of wine and parties, was in a particularly bad mood one day. He got so angry, he swore he would unleash his wrath on the very next mortal he saw. And wouldn't you know it, the next person to walk by was a beautiful young maiden named Amethyst.
So Dionysus is about to set his tigers on this poor girl. But just in the nick of time, the goddess Artemis steps in. To save the innocent maiden from a terrible fate, Artemis uses her power and turns her into a statue of pure, clear quartz.
And here's where the story gets really poetic. Seeing what his anger had caused, Dionysus was suddenly filled with regret. He started to weep, and because he's the god of wine, his tears were wine. And as they flowed over the quartz statue, they stained it that deep purple color forever.
So what's the moral of the story here? The crucial takeaway is this. The stone itself never changed. Not one bit. The chemistry, the color, the beauty. It is exactly the same magnificent stone that once sat on the crowns of kings and queens. The only thing that changed was us, our perception of how rare it was.
And that really leaves us with a final, big question to think about. At the end of the day, value is just a story we tell ourselves. The fall of Amethyst proves that. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other crown jewels in our lives, maybe even things you own, are only valuable because of the story we've all agreed to believe?